Ladies and gentlemen, this next segment of the podcast is brought to you by the Heritage Foundation. For over 50 years, the Great Heritage Foundation has been America's outpost in Washington, fighting against the D.C. federal bureaucracy and working to secure a future that allows Americans to live the good life. For too long, common sense principles have been ignored by many of the very leaders claiming to fight for America. But the Heritage Foundation is proud to hold our leaders accountable and stand up for America's founding principles. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. We have a very big announcement at the bottom of the hour. About 6:32 p.m. Eastern Time, in less than a half hour, so I hope you'll hang in there and listen, whether you're listening on AM or FM radio, whether you're listening on satellite radio, whether you're listening on live streaming or the Mark Levin app or the iHeart app or on YouTube or wherever you are. If I missed, I apologize. Hang in there. At the bottom of the hour, we're going to make a big announcement. I was not here last night because I was the keynote speaker, although there were great speakers, just tremendous, at the Christians United for Israel event. And CUFI represents almost 11 million active Christians in support of the United States, the State of Israel, and the Bible. And it was founded by Pastor John Hagee, the Cornerstone Church in San Antonio, Texas, his beautiful wife and daughter and son, just a beautiful family. My family and his family become extraordinarily close. Such a great honor. And we met so many fantastic people there, perhaps many of you. Just fantastic, God-loving people. You know, we say God-fearing, I say God-loving people. And when you think about the debate, the lead-up to what Israel did with Iran and then what we did to their nuclear sites, you realize that this debate occurs mostly in Washington. That the overwhelming majority of the American people wanted the Israelis to defeat the Iranians and wanted the United States military to take out their nuclear sites. And that's what the polling shows. And I sat here and I thought about this. Look what's happened in the Middle East. Thanks to Benjamin Netanyahu having to deal with Biden and now Benjamin Netanyahu teaming up with our great president, Donald Trump. What the two of them have done. It's radically changed the Middle East for the better, and more changes to come. Keep this in mind next time there's a debate among so-called influencers and isolationists, and we red-blooded American Yanks. All this hate America stuff coming from the isolationists, the paleocons, that's what they used to be called, the Buchananites. and the Marxist-Islamists on the left. And look what this president has achieved. There's reason to be optimistic, very. The border is secure. They're trying to find and remove the criminals, and these are horrendous people, sent into this country, who've come into this country during the Democrat-Biden regime open border. And they came by the millions, ladies and gentlemen. People came here by the millions. It's shocking. And this president trying to deal with it. Look at the Supreme Court ruled when it comes to these lower courts. He ruled what we wanted them to rule. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a patsy. I'm not a Pollyanna. But I'm just saying, let's look at the victories. He just told the lower courts, you can't do what you're doing. Now, will they look for ways around it? Yes, they certainly will. But at least in the first round, which is a big round, we won. Look at the other ruling, written by Alito, 6-3, about parents and children and school boards and school systems. A massive victory. And if the president is able and the Republican leadership is able to get this bill through, whether it takes a little longer or not, you can have a massive tax cut. Not everybody, but 70% of the American people. A massive tax cut. And for those of you who don't get much of a tax cut, at least you'll be able to hold on to most of the tax cut you had in the prior Trump term. Now, you might talk spending. I don't disagree. But what's the alternative here? The Democrat Party wants massive tax increases and even more spending. And I would say to my conservative brothers and sisters, I want bigger spending cuts too. But you can't do it when you have a 3-vote majority in both houses of Congress, because you have the Susan Collins types, or you have the Rhino types, you have liberal Republicans, or whatever you have. So it's impossible to accomplish what we want to accomplish. There are more reports about how Israelis are killing Palestinians. It's amazing to me. You've got hostages there in Gaza. They still won't allow. They could have peace in 2 minutes. Surrender, give the hostages back, and it's all over. But they won't do it. They won't do it. That's the bottom line. Now, things aren't perfect, and we need to fight. We need to be resolute. There's a lot to do. There's a movement in this country, Marxist-Islamist movement, that has taken hold, that is in our culture. It's in academia. It's destroying our colleges, even our best colleges. It's destroying our entertainment. It's destroying our news media. It's destroyed the Democrat Party. It's leaching into the Republican Party through isolationists. And it's a real deal. And all you have to do is look at France and especially England now, and then you'll see. This has been in the works for about 40 to 50 years. CARE was founded in 1993. It's a Hamas front group. It was founded for the purpose of leading the cause to try mainstream radical jihadi Islamicism. And the Marxists long ago took over our faculty in the 1960s. And you have the fusion of what I've talked about repeatedly of the Marxists and the Islamists. They are here. They are dangerous. They've basically conquered the Democrat Party. That's what they've done. They've basically conquered the Democrat Party. How did this happen? It's in my book, On Power. Where are we going with this? It's in my book, On Power. Why do they hate us? Why do they want to destroy us? It's in my book, On Power. What about the Democrat Party? It's in my book, On Power. I delve into faith belief, the Judeo-Christian belief system versus the Marxist-Islamist belief system. And they have a lot in common, those two. Not ultimately, but a lot in terms of the means, not so much the ends. And you're going to read about it. It's something I think that you'll find compelling and really motivating to deal with. And that's the point of this book. You're going to look at a way and find a way to look at freedom and unalienable rights like you've never looked at it before. Ever. Because in my 11th book, it's what it is. 10, excluding rescuing Sprite on these substantive issues, having taken time to do research for half a century, to study these issues for half a century, I think I've come upon something that's very important. People talk about power and passing, and then they move on. We talk about liberty till we're blue in the face. We talk about tyranny till we're blue in the face, and we should. But we have to explain why liberty, why tyranny, why not Islamism, why not Marxism, why yes republicanism, why yes constitutionalism. And I lay it out. And every time I look, now I have this Marxist-Islamist, anti-Semite, Intifada supporter, that's terrorism. Who's the Democrat nomination for mayor of New York? You never thought it would happen. Worse is going to happen. If we don't educate ourselves about this, the education in this book is not available anywhere else. You're not going to get it in college. You're not going to get it in high school. You're not going to get it in the media. It's not available anywhere else. Well, you'll get it in the media to the extent I talk about it. Then you'll get it. Very important. And why is it the isolationists are so wrong? I don't even mention them in the book, but why is it that they're so wrong? Because they don't accept the mindset of the enemy. They don't even treat it as an enemy. They think we're the enemy, or the Jews are the enemy, or Israel's the enemy, or the warmongers the enemy. This is a problem. This is a problem we've got to deal with. It's a matter of understanding, informing ourselves on what we're dealing with. I divide this book into different chapters. There are not a lot of chapters. There are not a lot of chapters. But each one is very important. The first chapter is on power. What do I mean by this? Think about power. It's ubiquitous. So what do I mean by it? And how am I going to fashion a discussion about it? Chapter 2 is on negative power. Well, what does that mean? People think they know what it means, but people really don't know what that means. So I broke out that piece and I explained that. Next chapter, obviously, positive power. What does that mean? Why is it positive? Chapter 4 is on language. I address on language in other books, but this time I address it in another way. In relation to power and wokeism and speech rules on college campuses and on and on and on. On rights. What does power have to do with rights? We have rights right there in the Declaration of Independence. Unalienable rights. Well, there's a difference between God-given unalienable rights and how those unalienable rights given to us by God are manifested right here on earth. The earthly application of those unalienable rights. So we're going to discuss that in the book, chapter 5, and much more. What do we mean by liberty? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I went to the greatest sources of that word. I went to Aristotle and Cicero. I went to John Stuart Mill, wrote a whole book called On Liberty. I wrote to the founders, I went to the founders of your country, and many more. And you know what I found, Mr. Producer? There's no great definition for liberty. It's typically described by what it's not, or in the context of something else. And so we get into this. What really does liberty mean? Now, this book could have been 1,000 pages long. It could be 10 books. If I decided to apply power to immigration, power to equality, power to you name it. But that's not the nature of this book. And if I wrote a book 1,000 pages long, you wouldn't read it. Neither would I. Be a good doorstop, probably. Or one of those cocktail table books and nobody reads. It just sits there. I want you to read it. That's why when you read this book, you'll find there's a a limit on the number of endnotes because most of it's my own thinking. There's endnotes. I give credit where credit's due. You will find that the book, the substance of the book, is 182 pages long, not 300 pages long. You will find in each page, in each chapter, something that is intriguing and compelling. You may have to go back and read it twice, maybe 3 times, to think through the points that I'm raising with you. And you're going to find that this book has everything to do with what you discussed at the breakfast table, at the dinner table, at Thanksgiving. This book has everything to do with the debates that go on in this country. This book has everything to do with 80% of what you see on TV or listen to on radio. And it's going to change the way you view things for the better. For the better. We have a hell of a show for you this evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad to be back. I'm so honored to have been at Kufi. And what a beautiful honor from those folks. Just so inspiring. I just wish all of you could have seen it and all of you could have been there. So we'll get started. Bottom of the hour, big announcement. Bottom of the hour. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
President Trump is in Washington with a mandate from the American people to solve the border crisis, reverse the effects of Bidenflation, and restore American greatness. But since January 20, judges across our country have consistently been blocking President Trump's attempts to fulfill his mandate. The Heritage Foundation has been analyzing the situation, and they've been able to identify the legal issues with these judges' actions, as well as the solutions that can end this potential crisis. Now, to see the results of the Heritage's analysis for yourself, go to heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/Levin. There you'll gain exclusive access to the Heritage Foundation's guide to solving the problem of limiting President Trump's executive actions. Stopping these judges might be the only way to protect Americans and take back our nation. So go to heritage.org/Levin, that's heritage.org/Levin, and get your free copy today. That's heritage.org/Levin, paid for by the Heritage Foundation. By the way, at the top of the next hour, we have Asra Nomani, who's absolutely fabulous, co-founder of the Clarity Coalition with Zuhdi Jasser. And she wrote a great piece and has a great background on these things about socialism, these Islamists, and how they pulled off a 20-year takeover of the Democrat Party. She wrote this at Fox News. I said, whoa, I've got to have this young lady on the program. And this is the fusion of the Marxists and Islamists. They call themselves democratic socialists just because it sounds better. But they're not democratic and they're not socialists. They're communists. They're Marxists. That's what they are, and they're Islamists. And later in the program, we're going to give you a whole background on this guy because he's just the tip of the iceberg. And AOC and the Democrat Party, big chunks of it. Bernie Sanders and all, they're very excited about this. They're pushing this. And in the biggest city in the United States, the wealthiest city in the United States, the most diverse city in the United States, can you imagine if one of these people becomes mayor? He's a racist. He wants to tax white people in white neighborhoods higher. He's an anti-Semite. He believes in BDS and this also global intifada. He is a communist who wants to take over the means of production. He's unapologetic about it. He's basically Stalin with a smile. Big announcement coming up literally in minutes. Stick with us. I'll be right back. Are you concerned about the rising number of judges who've been limiting President Trump's executive orders? Now, if you're not concerned yet, you should be. When these judges use injunctions to block President Trump's attempts to fulfill his mandate from the American people, it is we, the people, who lose out. Thankfully, the Heritage Foundation has the policy solutions to stop these threats to our judicial system. So go to heritage.org and get your free copy of the How to Stop Activist Judges ebook. This resource explains exactly what these judges are doing, why it matters, and how under the Constitution they can be stopped. President Trump's agenda is in danger, but even more importantly, the safety of Americans and the future of our nation could be at stake. So please go to heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/Levin. Get your free ebook today. That's heritage.org/Levin, paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
The Mark Levin Show, where the Reagan Coalition meets every day. Call now, 877-381-3811.
You know, whenever I launch a book, ladies and gentlemen, the Reagan Coalition, the Conservative Coalition, now the Trump Coalition, Tea Party Coalition, that is, patriotic Americans come from all over the country to greet each other, to share stories with each other, to be with each other, to have a beautiful dinner, for us to meet, for me to talk about this new book on power, which is a very, very important book, and really a hallowed place, the Reagan Library. It is beautiful. It's the most beautiful library that's out there. And it's a great honor to have with me tonight the president and CEO of the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation and Institute, David Trulio, who's doing a fantastic job out there. So, David, tell everybody what we're doing this year. And let me just suggest to the audience, if you're interested in doing this, don't sit around and think about it, because typically it's gone by the end of the program. David, go right ahead and welcome to the program.
Thanks so much, Mark. And wise words. People should absolutely act quickly. Mark, we are so excited to welcome you back to the Reagan Library, the place that bears the name of the greatest president of the 20th century. And Mark, this is going to be your ninth. So excited. So here's the plan. You and I will have a conversation about your new book, and you and our guests will stay for a buffet dinner in our spectacular Air Force One pavilion. And I recommend that anyone within the sound of this broadcast go to reaganfoundation.org/Levin to buy tickets. And they should do it right now. With history as a guide, I know that tickets will sell out very quickly. So do make sure you go to reaganfoundation.org/Levin to secure your ticket right now.
And folks, I want you to know, David's not throwing something at you. This is absolutely true. We have a overflow section to it, and once it's sold out, it's sold out. There's nothing we can do about it. And so we sell it every year. We sell it very, very quickly. I really want to see every year, want to see as many of you as possible. This is the biggest event that we have, that they have, each time we do this. There's no guarantee we'll do this every time. There just isn't. But this time, our friends at the Reagan Library, we have a tremendous relationship with them. We'd love to see you there. Again, it's August 17th. August 17th, that's a Sunday, 1:30 p.m. Pacific time, at the Reagan Library, Simi Valley, California. Again, Sunday, August 17th, 2025, this August, 1:30 p.m. Pacific time. Sign up. Get your seat, enjoy the dinner. You know I spend time with you. We talk. You know I sign every book that comes to me. You go to reaganfoundation.org/Levin, reaganfoundation.org/Levin.
And Mark, if I can elaborate, you have been so generous with your time. You literally sign every book. The book signing starts at 1:30 on Sunday, the 17th of August, and the main program is going to start at 6. And historically, you have used all of that time from 1:30 until that 6 p.m. program start time. So it's really great. And so we're all clear. If people purchase a ticket, it gives them access to the buffet dinner, provides them the ability to tour the Reagan Library and Museum, and then we'll roll into the program, and people can also tour the plane that President Reagan used as Air Force One. So they can tour the museum from 4:30 to 5:45, see the event with you, have the dinner, and then go onto the plane, that Air Force One plane, from 7:30 to 8:30.
And you have fantastic events there at the museum, at the Reagan Library. They're museum-like places that you have where people can spend time and look and do other things. So once I sign your book, you're not just milling around. There are literally tons of things to do in this fantastic library. Many of you who've come before, you know you got to get in line. You got to sign up as quickly as you can. I'm only doing 3 book signings. This is the only book signing on the West Coast. There's not another one. There's not a one. This is it. And anybody who has been wanting to go to the Reagan Library or go back to the Reagan Library, this is where you pull it all together. And you have a fantastic dinner. Again, we will all meet. And we're going to get into the guts of this book on power, which I think is crucially important now more than ever. I take questions from the audience. And you know, David, we have people we don't know, people who we don't even expect show up, who sometimes actors and actresses, sometimes former governors, people of that sort. It's a lot of fun. You don't really know who's going to come. And it's exciting. It is, it's one of those events. It's fun. And I suspect when you walk away from it, you're going to talk about it. As a matter of fact, David, we've had many people, parents and grandparents, they bring their children and their grandchildren. They make it a real event. They enjoy it. We enjoy seeing
and Mark, they can make it a full day at the Reagan Library, because in addition to seeing you and participating in the book signing, there's that tremendous museum that tells the story of Ronald Reagan and his life, his presidency. We also have a remarkable special exhibition right now, the Dead Sea Scrolls. Yes, literally the Dead Sea Scrolls from Israel are with us. So people, they'd have to buy a separate ticket for that, because that sells out too on the weekends. But they can come to the cafe, they can tour the museum, they can buy a ticket to go see the Dead Sea Scrolls. 8 scrolls, 2,000-year-old scrolls that reflect the foundations of Judaism and Christianity, and there are 200 accompanying artifacts. And on top of that, they get to see you and get their books signed by you. But I promise everybody, this sells out fast every time. So if you actually want to do this, go to reaganfoundation.org/Levin right now.
The Dead Sea Scrolls. I mean, I went already all the way to Israel to see some of this. So you have it brought back here. Folks, I didn't even know this. It's going to blow your socks off. What you see there, you're going to see the history. The history of how Judaism and Christianity began. These Dead Sea Scrolls, they were found in caves in the sides of mountains by people who were just sort of milling around, and miners and shepherds and so forth and so on. And they have a very sophisticated lab set up in the Holy Land to try and decipher them, and they're starting to do that. And the only reason they survive is because they were in these caves and they didn't get wet and so forth. They're thousands of years old. Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? Years,
and they're the most. It's the most important archaeological discovery of the 20th century, or certainly one of them. And they're incredibly fragile. They're preserved by the arid climate there, and it's more than a display of artifacts. It's a journey through human spirituality and resilience and the enduring quest for meaning. So I can't think of a more special way to take it all in at the place that bears Ronald Reagan's name, with somebody who served his administration and carries forth the Reagan legacy and principles, Mark Levin. So we're just so grateful, Mark, that of all the places that you can come, that you've chosen this at one of only 3 locations in the United States where you will talk about your timely and consequential book.
So reminder, folks, Sunday, August 17th, 1:30 p.m. Pacific time. That's when we'll start the book signing at the Reagan Library, Simi Valley, California. It's absolutely beautiful. You can honor the lives of the Reagans. They're buried right there on the property, as a matter of fact, overlooking the beautiful hills of the area and so forth, Simi Valley. And it's always very well organized. You're going to have a fantastic time. A lot of people who've been there know exactly what I'm talking about. But again, a lot of people who've been there signing up right now as I speak. So if this is something you want to do it now. David, I want to thank you so much. One more time, where do people go if they want to sign up right now, tonight?
Right now, they go to reaganfoundation.org/Levin. And I'm actually sitting next to my computer here, and I can tell the orders are starting to roll in.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Well, we'll get them rolling in by the end of the show. We're going to roll it, baby. All right. Thank you, David. You take care of yourself.
Bless
we can't
you,
wait to see all you folks. God bless. Take care. This is an event. It's more than just a book signing. I mean, it's very important. It's an event. It's people who come who are happy. We're going to be happier this time than we were 2 years ago because Biden was president. Now Trump is president. President Trump has Ronald Reagan's official White House portrait as he sits behind the Resolute desk over his left shoulder. over his left shoulder. President Trump's tax cuts, in many respects, the people advising him advised Reagan. So I know they're great tax cuts because of Trump and Reagan's combination of thinking. Same when it comes to building up the United States military and so forth. Don't get me wrong, Trump is his own man, but he has tremendous respect for Ronald Reagan. I worked for Ronald Reagan for 8 years. I never worked for Donald Trump, but he's a dear good friend of mine. And so we'll bring all these histories, all this thinking, all this background together when we discuss the book. You'll be able to ask your questions when I get to meet each and every one of you. You'll get to have dinner there. And I did not know that the Dead Sea Scrolls would be there. That is fantastic. So you'll be able to check those out too. And this is incredible. I've seen some of this when we were in Israel. What was it? Month or two? Whatever it was. I'm losing focus on my time. And once more, west of the Mississippi, this is it. This is where I'm going. Not because that's the plan. It's just the way it is. I can't travel all over the country, do TV and radio. Some people can. I don't feel I'm treating my audience properly. And you'll notice it's on a Sunday. It's not during a weekday. We try for a Saturday or Sunday. And that's what we're doing in this instance. So if you want to join us, I'm just giving word to the wise. Don't sit back. Go to ReaganFoundation.org/LEVIN. ReaganFoundation.org/LEVIN. You're going to have a fantastic time. I'm telling you, you are. And I'm going to have one with you. I'm very excited about this. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
President Trump is in Washington with a mandate from the American people to solve the border crisis, reverse the effects of Bidenflation, and restore American greatness. But since January 20, judges across our country have consistently been blocking President Trump's attempts to fulfill his mandate. The Heritage Foundation has been analyzing the situation, and they've been able to identify the legal issues with these judges' actions, as well as the solutions that can end this potential crisis. Now, to see the results of the Heritage's analysis for yourself, go to heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/LEVIN. There you'll gain exclusive access to the Heritage Foundation's guide to solving the problem of limiting President Trump's executive actions. Stopping these judges might be the only way to protect Americans and take back our nation. So go to heritage.org/Levin, that's heritage.org/LEVIN, and get your free copy today. That's heritage.org/Levin, paid for by the Heritage Foundation. Okay, while you folks are, I hope, jumping in, contacting our special hotline to acquire your seats and dinner arrangements at the Reagan Library. Again, it's reaganfoundation.org/Levin, reaganfoundation.org/LEVIN. Zahran Mamdani is a young democratic socialist. Now, ladies and gentlemen, every time you hear socialist, I want you to think of Marxist or communist, okay? He's not a socialist. Socialist is an economic system, so he's an economic socialist, but he's a Marxist, the iron fist of tyranny. This is from 2021. Cut one, go.
What I wanted to make sure to say is that when our position starts to change, when we start to accumulate power, when we start to elect individuals such as myself and my other slate mates into local office, we are starting to be treated in a different way than we used to be. And the way in which power engages us now, it is very critical for all of us to remember what it is that we are fighting for, and to remember that our agenda is an agenda that must not be dictated by calculus, but by conviction. And what I mean by that is that the many things that we believe, some of them are already popular in this moment right now, right? If we're talking about the cancellation of student debt, if we're talking about Medicare for all, these are issues which have the groundswell of popular support across this country. But then there are also other issues that we firmly believe in, whether it's BDS, right? Or whether it is the end goal of seizing the means of production, where we do not have...
Okay, please stop there. Seizing the means of production. Seizing, stealing private property, stealing homes, stealing businesses. Seizing the means of production. Now, ladies and gentlemen, your Declaration of Independence and your Constitution talked about protecting what you've earned, protecting what is yours. Again, this book on power gets into this in a big way. He just said, seize the means of production. He's a Stalinist. He didn't simply say, which would be bad enough, share the wealth, did he? Redistribute wealth. He said, seize the means of production. Now, are we supposed to forget this? Because he smiles? He's also from a fairly wealthy family. He wants you to believe he grew up in the third world. No, he was born in the third world, and they came to the United States. And then, of course, he wants to destroy the United States. He's of Indian heritage. And he's also a racist pig, because he talks about taxing white people more. He's also an anti-Semitic pig, because of the things he says about Judaism and Israel. This is who he is. Go ahead, Mr. Producer.
At this very moment. And what I want to say is that it is critical that in the way that we organize, in the way that we set up our work and our priorities, that we do not leave any one issue for the other, that we do not meet a moment and only look at what people are ready for, but that we are doing both of these things in tandem.
In other words, impose your will on the people. Dress it up, camouflage it, make it sound cool. Freebies for everybody. Who could be against that? Don't accept the status quo. Destroy it and proceed. One of the things that's never discussed in this, and I discuss it in the book, is what do you surrender in exchange for this? And his opponents are probably not smart enough to raise it. Maybe Curtis is, but I can't think of anyone else. What do you lose when somebody says seize the means of production? When somebody says, basically, we're going to take over the grocery industry. When somebody says free Medicare for everybody, in his case, it won't be Medicare, but it could be aspects of health care. What do you lose? You lose your liberty. That's what you lose. You lose freedom. Because he can't do this through a democratic process. Oh, he'll get elected maybe, but that's not my point. You won't, once they're in, they're not going to seek your input. They're going to impose their will. There is no way to seek your input and have it matter if you're talking about seizing the means of production. So if you have a business in New York, any kind of business, small, medium, large, food, jewelry, doesn't matter. Seize the means of production. And of course, it's obvious. What government can run anything? Seriously. That's a practical point. But here's a real point. Any government that can seize the means of production can steal your liberty, can steal your mobility, will make decisions about your life in the name of the people, even though the people aren't consulted. This guy is a hardcore Stalinist. He's a Stalinist. Oh, does that mean he's going to lock everybody up? No, but that doesn't mean he's not a Stalinist. He has a Stalinist mentality. That's what he is. I'll be right back. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Just a reminder, people come and go in a program like this, although you should stay forever. We've now opened the floodgates, essentially, to join us at the Reagan Library. There are a limited number of seats for dinner and for book signing and the big event that takes place. We've now learned the Dead Sea Scrolls will be there for you to view as well. But I'm already looking at these sales, and they're moving very, very fast. So if you want to join us, go to reaganfoundation.org/Levin, reaganfoundation.org/LEVIN. I'm just telling you now, if you wait, you're going to miss out. So anybody who feels they're going to be there, August 17th is the date. Sorry, I meant to mention that. Sunday, August 17th, 1:30 p.m. Pacific time. 1:30 p.m. Pacific time. This will be the only book signing and event actually west of Reston, Virginia. More on that later. But so this is a very big event. We do it, and we have a very wonderful time. You can ask anybody who's been there. So if you want to jump in, you better jump in now. I'll mention it again at the bottom of the hour, but I'm already looking at the numbers. So if you want to participate, it's August 17th. Book signing begins at 1:30 p.m. I recommend you come earlier and enjoy the Dead Sea Scrolls exhibit, which is going to be fantastic. And then we'll do our book signing. I don't leave till every book is sold, and I shake everybody's hand, as you know. And then we have a chat afterwards, and then we'll have our dinner. Very special place. The Reagan Library, to me, is the nicest of the bunch. August 17th, 1:30 p.m. Pacific time. Go to reaganfoundation.org/LEVIN. If you forget that, it's up on the social media sites. We have a very special guest with us, and I read the piece that she wrote, and it was on Fox Digital. And Asra Nomani. Asra Nomani, any friend of Zuhdi Jasser is a friend of mine. You wrote a remarkable piece about this Marxist-Islamist alliance, and how this has been in the works for a few decades now, and how their goal is to destroy America. Welcome to the program. Tell us what it is that you're conveying to the American people here.
Yeah, it's so long overdue for us to talk. We are friends without having spoken to each other.
Amen.
But yes, you have been a pioneer in this area of research. And you know what I want to just share with readers is, 25 years ago, I was a Muslim, like many, who was watching the extremism around me, but it didn't hit home until 9/11. And then it became very personal because I was a reporter at the Wall Street Journal, and my dear colleague was the journalist Daniel Pearl, who was kidnapped and murdered after.
Gosh.
Yeah, Mark, he left my house in Karachi, Pakistan, and we hunted, for the men who had kidnapped Danny for 5 weeks, and we learned with the world the brutal beheading that had happened of Danny. And his last words, my father is Jewish, my mother is Jewish, I am Jewish. Those men that murdered Danny had the hate that is now being expressed on the streets of our country and on our campuses against Jews, against Israel, against America. And so for these last 2 decades, I've been studying these adversaries we face. And what I've documented is that, indeed, we have a nexus of the far-left socialists with the Islamists who believe in political Islam. And I think what probably caught your attention this time with this article is that the rise of mayoral candidate Zahran Mamdani captures this true nexus that we have between the red, the green, and the blue, that is the Democratic Party. And this machine is working to dismantle America from the inside.
And it is amazing, is it not, how the media just report it like it's almost no big deal. They pretend that he's not the anti-Semite, the Jew hater, the American hater. He's talked about seizing the means of production. He really is this Marxist, radical Islamist mindset, right?
Yeah, it's very true. And what I really wanted to capture in this article and in my book is, why are these blinders on the eyes of so many Americans, even with the evidence right in front of our faces? I mean, Mark, you have said that, you have dared to say the S word for so many years, socialism. You have called them out as Marxists. They are self-declared. But yet when we have these protests on the streets run by groups like the Party for Socialism and Liberation. They're as blatant as you could possibly be. Mm-hmm. The media simply reports them as angry Americans, anti-Trump demonstrators, and they are refusing to have transparency on what is playing out in our streets. Why? What I document in this article and what I document in the book is that 20 years ago, Muslim establishment had a strategy in which they were going to racialize Muslims, turn us into a race, and play the victim card. And so in this new pedagogy of critical race theory, we became the oppressed, even though an extremist faction of our community was beheading innocent people around the world. And we ended up becoming the recipients of these donors that were funding the Democratic Party. And the evidence that I show in the column is a 2008 email from a top official at the Open Society Foundation, which is run by philanthropist George Soros, and it was an email that went to John Podesta, former Clinton senior advisor, and later Hillary Clinton campaign manager. And in that email, they laid the game plan to upend the Bush administration's national security policy, perform this moral inversion, and become victims in the national security space, so that today, what's the result? Zahran Mamdani declares that we must globalize the Intifada, and he can then literally weep in front of the camera claiming to be a victim of Islamophobia.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
And so what your point is, and your point of your article, and your great book, which is called Woke Army, the Red-Green Alliance that is Destroying America's Freedom. You can get it at Amazon.com. I encourage you to do that. And your point is this. Your point is they do exactly what they say they're going to do. Then they try to immunize themselves by claiming racism, Islamophobia, and so forth. I saw this over at Mediaite, which is a hard little nothing of a website, and a guy by the name of Kobe Hall, he's there arguing that this guy's a Democrat progressive and how he's being challenged and questioned, and where's the anti-Semitism? And, I listed all the anti-Semitism. It's so public. It's out here. I want you to listen to this. I want you to stick with me a little bit here.
Yes, absolutely.
I want you to listen to this. Cut 2, Mr. Producer. This is the Zahran Mamdani. Go ahead.
We have to continue to elect more socialists, and we have to ensure that we are unapologetic about our socialism. Now, unapologetic about our socialism, when I say that, I don't mean that you're voting on an issue about, or you're saying hello to somebody and the first thing you say is, my name is Zahran and I'm a socialist. You can be smart about the conversations that you have and ensure that you're not.
In other words, what he's saying there is deceive them. Deceive them. Tell them all the goodies they're going to get, attack the system, attack capitalism, attack Americanism, deceive them, and then tell them what they're going to get. But do it in a way that's actually going to persuade them and so forth. So it's pretty sinister, isn't it?
It's very sinister, and some of your listeners might know the word taqiyya, which is our Muslim community, and it basically means gaslighting people, right? Like that's the normal way to talk about it. And the Muslim establishment groups do it all the time because they'll say, invite us to your interfaith dinner. We're going to bring diversity. And their diversity doesn't include a system in which you are unequal to them, but in fact they are practicing their brand of Muslim supremacy. And these socialists are no different. They believe they are so much better than the rest of America that believes in free enterprise and individual liberties. And the really important concept that I want to make sure I talk about is one that I know is really important to Mark, is this 3 words, malign foreign influence, because Zudi and I are perfect examples of immigrants immigrant families that came to the United States and believes in the values of this country. We fight for this country every single day. But there are those from the left and from the Muslim community and from all over that are malign in their intentions about this nation. And they are supported and sponsored by actors overseas, from Qatar to the Communist China and interest groups. And we have to be really clear about the fact that they want to sow this discord that we're seeing on the streets today. And so part of my goal is always to, just like you do, bring transparency to it so that our Americans can be inoculated to their propaganda. Yeah.
Now listen to this back and forth where Kristen Welker over the weekend will meet the press on this phrase, globalize the intifada. Now you and I know what intifada is. It's war. It's terrorism against the Jews and now the broader West. And globalize it means that wherever, quote unquote, Muslims are, go to war with the West, go to war with people with whom you disagree, especially the Jews. So let's listen to this. Cut 4, go.
I want to ask you about an issue that has divided some New Yorkers in recent weeks. You were recently asked about the term globalize the intifada, if it makes you uncomfortable. In that moment, you did not condemn the phrase. Now, just so folks understand, it's a phrase that many people hear as a call to violence against Jews. There's been a lot of attention on this issue. So I want to give you an opportunity to respond here and now. Do you condemn that phrase, globalize the intifada?
That's not language that I use. The language that I use and the language that I will continue to use to lead this city is that which speaks clearly to my intent, which is an intent grounded in a belief in universal human rights. And ultimately, that's what is the foundation.
So stop there a minute. Stop there for a second. So Asra, this is exactly how he does it, how he's been indoctrinated to do it, which is lie.
Yeah.
Right?
Complete gaslighting. I have traveled through the West Bank, and I have felt literally with my finger the bullet holes, that have pierced through walls in the intifadas that have been a part of the violence of, and I've gone to the Sabara where bomb blew up, killing innocents in Jerusalem. That is the intifada. And there's no getting around that except in their propaganda, where, I've been on the streets now here, Mark, from Chicago to D.C., New York City, College Park, Maryland, and these Students for Justice in Palestine organizations that Zahran Mamdani also led at his college are very clear that they want the extinction of the state of Israel from the river to the sea. They want a right of return, as they call it, of every single Palestinian that has ever had any roots as in that identity. And they call it a civil democracy because they want a demographic overhaul of the nation, right? So that Israel is no longer a homeland for the Jews. And I will add this one last element, which is, unfortunately, among the extremists, there is that belief, too, in end times, And in their end times philosophy of extremist Islam, they need to control Jerusalem. And so that is the end game in all of this. And Zuhdi and I know this because we've studied it. We see it in our mosques. We know the truth. And I just wish that more Americans would open their eyes also to the realities of their goals.
Well, thanks to you, they will. Now, we're going to take a little break. We're going to come back and continue this very crucial discussion with Asra Nomani. Her great book, Woke Army, the Red-Green Alliance that is destroying America's freedom. She had a great piece on Fox Digital that caught my attention. She's co-founder of the Clarity Coalition with our buddy Zuhdi Jasser, and we'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Pure Talk, my wireless company, a veteran-led company, believes every man and woman who has faithfully served this country deserves to proudly fly an American flag that was made in America. And listen to this. That's why Pure Talk is on a mission to give an allegiance flag, the highest quality American flag ever, to 1,000 U.S. veterans in time for the patriotic holidays. Switch your cell phone service to Pure Talk today. Know that you're supporting a company that will be providing these high-quality flags made in America to deserving veterans. With plans from just $25 a month for unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data, you can enjoy America's most dependable 5G network while cutting your cell phone bill, in many cases, in half. The average Pure Talk family saves over $1,000 a year. Just go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin to switch hassle-free in as little as 10 minutes. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin. Switch to a wireless company that supports our veterans, that is patriotic, based right here in America. Switch to Pure Talk. We're here with Asra Nomani, who's got a great book, Woke Army, the Red-Green Alliance Destroying America's Freedom. She wrote a great piece that caught my attention on Fox News Digital. I want you to hear the rest of this, where this Zahran Mamdani refuses to reject the phrase, globalize the intifada. I don't care what language he uses. He can very easily say, not only don't I use it, I condemn it, and he wouldn't say it. Go ahead.
My politics, the belief that freedom and justice and safety are things that to have meaning have to be applied to all people, and that includes Israelis and Palestinians alike.
But do you actually condemn it? I think that's the question and the outstanding issue that a number of people, both of the Jewish faith and beyond, have. Do you condemn that phase, globalize the intifada, which a lot of people hear as a call to violence against Jews?
I've heard from many Jewish New Yorkers who have shared their concerns with me, especially in light of the horrific attacks that we saw in Washington, D.C. and in Culver Boulevard.
Hey, pal, you've asked a simple question. Are you going to condemn the mass slaughter of Jews worldwide by Muslims or not? I don't care if you've heard from Jews. I don't care if you heard from ghosts. I don't care if you hear voices at night. Will you or not? And he won't. You want to know why he won't? Because he agrees with it. That's why he won't. Am I right, Asra?
Yeah, and he's agreeing with it from two angles. Because he believes in the intifada, which is the rebellion of the Palestinians against the Jewish state. And then he also believes in it as a socialist for the destruction of American free enterprise as we know it. They literally say that they want to destroy the system from within the empire. That's what they call the United States. And people don't have to believe me. For the last year, Mark, I've been building this database. I started an initiative called the Pearl Project to honor my friend Danny. And it's the kind of thing that Danny would make me do. How do you know this, Asra? So, Mark, I built a database. There's 2,500 groups in it. Half of them are these socialist, Marxist, communist, Leninist groups, self-described. They want to turn the Philippines communist. They want South Korea communist. It's everything that you've been preaching, Mark. The evidence is so there. And now we have this convergence of the Islamists with the socialists. And unfortunately, they're using the Democratic Party as their Trojan horse to destroy the so-called empire. Mm-hmm. We are the actual resistance. We are the ones, like in the Clarity Coalition, such brave people standing up to this machine and investigating them, calling them out, refusing their tyranny. And I'm so proud of the people that you inspire also, all of your listeners who are smart enough to listen to you and brave enough to speak their truth, because that's what we all have to do as Americans in order to resist this tyranny.
Well, you're a fantastic lady. We're going to definitely have you back. Asra Nomani, her book is Woke Army, the Red-Green Alliance That's Destroying America's Freedom. You get it on Amazon. She's got a great piece on Fox Digital as well. It's just fantastic. And you're very courageous. My buddy Zudi's very courageous. And unfortunately, you reformers are in a small minority, but you're duking it out. You're doing the very best you can. But we're going to keep exposing this guy who's running in New York. God bless you, my friend. Take care of yourself.
Thank you. Thank you.
She's fantastic. We'll be right back. Pure Talk, my wireless company, a veteran-led company, believes every man and woman who has faithfully served this country deserves to proudly fly an American flag that was made in America. And listen to this. That's why Pure Talk is on a mission to give an allegiance flag, the highest quality American flag ever, to 1,000 U.S. veterans in time for the patriotic holidays. Switch your cell phone service to Pure Talk today. Know that you're supporting a company that will be providing these high-quality flags made in America to deserving veterans, with plans from just $25 a month for unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data. you can enjoy America's most dependable 5G network while cutting your cell phone bill, in many cases, in half. The average Pure Talk family saves over $1,000 a year. Just go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin to switch hassle-free in as little as 10 minutes. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin. Switch to a wireless company that supports our veterans, that is patriotic, based right here in America. Switch to Pure Talk.
The Mark Levin Show, live and national at 877-381-3811.
By the way, I don't have the foggiest idea if there's any seats left, because we lost contact with our contact. You can also buy a plate to get the book signed. You don't have to come to the whole thing, although I would love you to do it. I don't make anything out of this, just so you know. Helps fund the Reagan Library, which to me is very, very important. But I fly out there because I enjoy you folks. Like I say, I don't know if what's left, if anything, because there's no communication right now. Something is cut off. I don't know if it's technological or what it is. It doesn't really matter. But I wanted to point this out to you. August 17th, 1:30 p.m. Pacific Time, Reagan Library, Simi Valley, California. Now, station in Los Angeles on Salem, KRLA. We're delayed there 3 hours. So you people, I'm just saying, people who are not listening via that station but are listening other ways, obviously you can jump fast and move fast, because once that kicks in, I know it'll be over. So it may be over now for all I know, but I don't know. So you can go to ReaganFoundation.org/Levin, ReaganFoundation.org/Levin. I usually like to update you, but there's nobody there to update us right now. Let's continue with this guy, Mr. Producer. Cut 4, go.
This moment of anti-Semitism in our country and in our city, and I've heard those fears and I've had those conversations, and ultimately they are part and parcel of why in my campaign I've put forward a commitment to increase funding for anti-hate crime programming by 800%. I don't believe that
anti-hate crime programming? You won't even denounce global intifada. You understand this, America? I put money in this. This is the way it works. I put money in that. We're going to fight this. He won't condemn his promotion of global terrorism against Jews. I don't use that line. Well, how about condemning? He won't condemn it. Just keep listening. Go ahead.
To police speech in the manner especially of that of Donald Trump, who has put one New Yorker in jail who's just returned to his family, Mahmoud Khalil, for that very supposed crime.
No. Khalil, see what I mean? Look who he aligns himself with. Khalil, who's pushing the Hamas talking point. And there's civil suits taking place now that will expose even more of it. Just understand what you're dealing with here, America. Khalil is his example. Khalil. Go ahead.
Ultimately, what I think I need to show is the ability to not only talk about something, but to tackle it and to make clear that there's no room for anti-Semitism.
He's 33 years old. He hadn't tackled crap. He is the biggest hate monger out there. He's a hate monger. He's telling you that he's going to tackle this and that. No, he's a hate monger. He's not tackling anything except us. That's who he is. That's what he believes. He's horrendous. We're going to seize the methods of production. That's Maduro. That's Castro. That's Mao. That's Stalin. That's Xi. Is he going to take that back too? Is he? No, he's not. He's not going to take any of it back because he believes in this stuff. He's going to spin it. He's smooth. He's been taught this. That's what they do. They talk this stuff. He wants to tax whiter neighborhoods with higher taxes. He wants to eliminate billionaires. There shouldn't be any billionaires. He wants to seize private property. What do you think about that? Claims to have grown up in the third world. No, he was born in a quasi-third world, but he was raised in America and raised in a well-to-do family. They always lie about this. They always lie about this. It's like AOC. They used to call her Sandy Cortez. She was raised in Westchester, Mr. Producer. Is Westchester the Bronx? Yorktown and Westchester. That's even a nicer place generally, right? And so that's who she is. She's a liar, and she's still lying about it. She's still lying about it. And she's behind this guy. She's excited. She thinks she's presidential material. So you get the Marxists who are thrilled to death. You've got the Islamists who are thrilled to death. What do you make of somebody who says he plans to target whiter neighborhoods with higher taxes? The wealthiest ethnic group of people in New York City are Indians, just like him. And so he's not going to say that, nor should he, by the way. Nor should he. He says capitalism effectively needs to be destroyed. What's capitalism given us? And I think to myself, the food you eat, the clothes you wear, the car you use, and the house you live in, it's giving you that. This is horrendous. And it's an amazing thing to me. You actually have a Jewish Democrat in Jerry Nadler, who's endorsed this guy. Because that pig puts his party and his own political survival, he believes, ahead of everything else. Because he sees AOC, he sees this guy, and he sees trouble. He sees trouble. That's what he sees. His political trouble. So it's more important to him that he get reelected as a Democrat than he stand up against a tyrant. This guy's a tyrant who promotes global intifada because he won't denounce it. If he's not going to denounce it, then he's for it. We're not stupid. Pretty damn sickening. And yes, we're going to spend time on this, and we're going to spend time on it a lot. Let's go to cut 5, Mr. Producer. Cut 5, go.
You are a self-described democratic socialist. Do you think that billionaires have a right to exist?
I don't think that.
All right, let's start. You see, he thinks it's funny. Now, he's playing to the Marxist stuff, class warfare. What if billionaires don't exist? That means Microsoft wouldn't exist, Apple wouldn't exist. We can go through all the things that have been created that have created enormous wealth for certain individuals and groups of individuals. And why does it matter to us if Bill Gates is a billionaire? Why does it matter to us if the Jobs family are billionaire? Look what they've created for us. Why does it matter if Bezos is a billionaire? He created Amazon, which is very helpful to us. And I can go on and on and on. Why is that? It's better that governments have trillions and trillions of dollars to tell us what to do, how to live, what we can eat, what we can wear, and on and on and on. If you're a billionaire, in most cases, you haven't inherited your money unless your name is Alex Soros. But in many cases, you've created wealth. You've created things for people. And that's why you're a billionaire. And there's a lot of billionaires who don't remain billionaires. Just because you're raised in wealth doesn't mean you keep your wealth. Go ahead.
You are a self-described democratic socialist. Do you think that billionaires have a right to exist?
I don't think that we should have billionaires because, frankly, it is so much money in a moment of such inequality.
Let's stop. There it is. It's inequality. So if we don't have billionaires, there'll be equality. No, there won't. How many of you work your ass off every day? If you're in this audience, all of you do. Or if you're retired, how many of you did work your ass off before you were? If you're in this audience, all of you did. So you just have a Democrat Party that voted against cutting Medicaid for illegal aliens and cutting Medicaid for mentally and physically capable young men who won't work 20 hours a week. Now, let's pretend there's no billionaires. If you're an electrician or a plumber or a cop or a firefighter or a bus driver or whatever you are, and those people are sitting on their asses, some of them who are here illegally, some of them who can work and won't, is that equality? Again, pretend there's no billionaires whatsoever. Is that equality? Is that okay with you? Of course it's not. But here's what's not discussed. And again, it's in my book on power. Here's what's not discussed. What liberties and rights do you have to surrender to live under a regime like this? That says no billionaires. That says seize the productive assets of society. That says we're going to tax the whiter neighborhoods more. That says our grocery stores will be run by the city. What kind of liberty and rights do you surrender? What kind of government do you live in? You live in a communist, Islamist government where you will suffer, where you won't have abundance, where you won't have the food that you want, where you won't have the jobs that you want, where there will not be the tax base to give you all the freebies that they promise. That's what's never debated. That's why Meet the Press is a joke. She goes to one part, to one extent, but you got to be smart enough to dig deeper and go further. There should not be billionaires, but there should be illegal immigrants on Medicaid, right? That's okay. He's decided there shouldn't be billionaires. What if people make a lot of money because they invent life-saving drugs, life-saving technologies? What's wrong with that? He says it's too much money in the hands of one person. Look, I'm not even close, but what do billionaires do with their money? Do they use them to smoke joints? Do they make them sort of marijuana? I've never smoked. What's up? They make a marijuana. What do they do with this? Do they just keep piling up cash in their house? What do? They invest in capital. They invest in research. Maybe they build apartment buildings. Maybe they reinvested in many things because they want to keep making money. They want that money to work. And so they have that money and it's working, and it's working, and it's working. So they hire people. They hire electricians when they build. They hire plumbers. They hire bricklayers. They hire roofers. They hire construction workers. They hire. That's what you do with money. You don't put it in your mattress. Now, what's the government do with money? Oh, you're white? We're giving the money over here. Oh, you're a Jew? We're giving the money over here. Oh, you're this, you're that, and so forth and so on. Is that okay? You saw this Doge, what they uncovered. All the fraud and bloat in our federal government. That's never going to change. Why? Because the people making these decisions, they don't have a role in making the money. They just have a role in distributing the money. You need an IQ of 7, and maybe that's high to be a communist. And same with an Islamist. That's all. An IQ of 7. Not much more. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Pure Talk, my wireless company, a veteran-led company, believes every man and woman who has faithfully served this country deserves to proudly fly an American flag that was made in America. And listen to this. That's why Pure Talk is on a mission to give an allegiance flag, the highest quality American flag ever, to 1,000 U.S. veterans in time for the patriotic holidays. Switch your cell phone service to Pure Talk today. Know that you're supporting a company that will be providing these high-quality flags made in America to deserving veterans. With plans from just $25 a month for unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data, you can enjoy America's most dependable 5G network while cutting your cell phone bill, in many cases, in half. The average Pure Talk family saves over $1,000 a year. Just go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin to switch hassle-free in as little as 10 minutes. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin. Switch to a wireless company that supports our veterans, that is patriotic, based right here in America. Switch to Pure Talk. Oh, I just got an update. It's kind of now or never, folks. Go to the ReaganFoundation.org/Levin, ReaganFoundation.org/Levin. Our signing event, our dinner event, our huge event at the Reagan Library, which we do, is Sunday, August 17th, 1:30 p.m. Pacific time. If you want to join, you need to join now. Word to the wise. In a few minutes, we lose New York. We will pick up L.A. in about an hour, but still, if this is something you want to do, you really need to jump in now, and I encourage you to do it. I'd love to see you. Again, that's the ReaganFoundation.org/LEVIN at the Reagan Library in Simi Valley, August 17th on a Sunday, 1:30 p.m. Pacific time. And there you have it. Word to the wise. I'm doing 3 signings. I'm also not signing any books in advance. Sometimes I've done that too. What I did do, though, is I read with Mr. Producer, we did record the entire audio book from beginning to end, which is a first for me. And the reason is because the book is more concise than the other books. It's just packed. It's loaded, but it's more concise. And you can get it at Amazon.com, of course. But I'm trying to encourage people who want to go to these, and I'm going to announce the other ones in short order too. But the Reagan Library has to prepare for the crowd, which is why we do that earlier, and which is why we pretty much press it today. We'll mention it a few other times because there is a overflow section, and people can come and just have the book signed. You get in line, just have the book signed, because again, it's the only place I'm going to be west of Reston, Virginia. So I just want to encourage you to, I don't know what else to say. If you don't act soon, you're not going to get in there. And I really want to see as many of you as possible. All right. Don't forget, ReaganFoundation.org/Levin. Jump in.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Well, the big, beautiful bill, with some changes, I suppose, passed in the Senate, barely. That he gave some stuff to Murkowski. She's truly grotesque. And, of course, Susan Collins votes again. She's up for election, so the only thing that matters is voting for her, I guess. This guy Tillis is gone. He defended the indefensible, that is Medicaid without cutting illegal aliens and people who can work from the rolls. And then, of course, Rand Paul. And Rand Paul has become a crackpot. You may think he's the great one. He wants to cut this. No, he's a crackpot. That's what he is. He's a crackpot. And it's a big problem. And we're going to have Steve Scalise on at about 8:20, about 15 minutes. I don't want to get into all the arguments over this bill. I want to know what's in it. What's in it that we should like and not like? And I want you to remember something. They have a 3-vote in the House. You have over 200 members who are Republican, a 3-vote majority, right? I mean, anybody can blackmail anybody under those circumstances. That's kind of what Murkowski did in the Senate. But I also blame the leadership over there. They should have rolled that parliamentarian who was taking things out of the bill that the House put in. Again, the Medicaid issue. She's a bureaucrat. That's what she is. She's not in the Constitution. She has no constitutional role whatsoever. She's a parliamentarian. Big deal. Doesn't really mean a damn thing. And yet, she's got all this power. Are you okay with that? I'm not okay with that at all. I want to read something to you that's very interesting. We got a sense of this on our social sites. Iran's digital army exposed bots 240,000 posts tried to stop Trump's strike. This is from Hayam. Iran mounted a comprehensive campaign to undermine American public support for military action against its nuclear facilities by deploying a sophisticated bot network that disseminated hundreds of thousands of deceptive messages, according to groundbreaking research commissioned by the Ministry of Diaspora Affairs and Combating Anti-Semitism. This is how you also see some of these podcasters' numbers spike. And, of course, CNN reports it, and then Mediocreite reports it. A lot of this is phony. Phony. I think the horrendous anti-Semitic garbage that's on my sites, Mr. Producer, is partly coming out of Iran as well as other countries. Don't you? I mean, there are some out there, we know that, but not like that. We've been reading some pretty crappy stuff. I mean, a lot of it. The investigation, which analyzed social media activity on X during Operation Rising Line, intensified at least 100 fabricated accounts systematically promoting Tehran's strategic messaging. Beyond merely spreading disinformation to glorify Iranian successes while fabricating Israeli failures, Tehran invested substantial resources in targeting domestic audiences within Israel and the United States. Research has examined approximately 100 accounts. Actually, that's more than 1,000 accounts, exhibiting clear signs of automated rather than human operation. These accounts maintain continuous activity across all hours without typical human patterns of rest. Moreover, they generated content at superhuman speeds, posting thousands of messages daily. The content frequently appeared identical or remarkably similar across multiple suspicious accounts, strongly indicating coordination by bot activity. And I think that's exactly what happened on my sites, as well as many others. The examined network ultimately distributed 241,712 posts, reaching millions and millions of users worldwide. Iranian messaging operations divided into 4 distinct categories: promoting regime loyalty and the Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. The bot network advanced Iranian nationalism, seeking to frame the conflict as targeting Iran's people rather than its government. A second message category targeted both Iranian domestic audiences, Israeli citizens, with fabricated reports of Israeli military failures. These automated accounts circulated and manipulated imagery and AI-generated content depicting false scenarios such as Tel Aviv engulfed in flames or Israeli aircraft destroyed over Iranian territory. Additional message streams sought to characterize Israel as a terrorist state that murders children and massacres Palestinians. I guess this Mommy is into this. However, the research identifies Iran's most significant, ready for this, most significant operation as systematic efforts to turn American public opinion against President Donald Trump's military action targeting Iranian nuclear infrastructure. You heard this from Carlson. You heard it from Bannon. You heard it from No Pants Gates. You heard it from the dumbest member of the House of Representatives, traitor, what the hell is her name? I don't even remember. It doesn't matter. All these people, basically, were spewing the Iran line. These accounts amplified messaging identical to Republican, here you go, critics of the military strikes, following Trump advisor Steve Bannon's claims that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu exercised control over the president. Iranian accounts circulated imagery depicting Trump as Netanyahu's marionette. We had that on our sites, Mr. Producer. Or a dog owned by the Israeli leader. We had that on our sites, too, depicting Trump as Netanyahu's dog. Research findings show Trump was consistently portrayed across the bot network as Netanyahu's puppet, according to the Ministry of Diaspora. The network also promoted anti-Semitic messaging, targeting the American Israel Public Affairs Committee and Jewish Americans, like me, as allegedly controlling U.S. decision-making, echoing themes from American isolationist movements. Got that? The research notes, however, that Iranian bots did not directly coordinate with actual American opposition voices. No, they just regurgitated it. I don't believe this was at Mediocreite, this piece, because it would expose them as mouthpieces for Iran. It would expose the Drudge Report. It would expose these isolationists. They were and I said over and over and over again, you got to believe that the propaganda these morons are putting out is going to be used by the Iranian regime. And by God, it was. The director of the research division of the ministry, a longtime analyst, he explained to Hayam that historical evidence demonstrates the measurable impact of sustained messaging operations, particularly those originating from Iran. He said over many years, Qatar and other opponents of Israel systematically funded and distributed anti-Semitic and anti-Israel content, Western nations often accommodated these efforts under principles of enlightenment, liberal tolerance, and intellectual openness. We now observe how these messages denying Israel's fundamental right to exist. So the bots were active. People were right, and it wasn't just Iranian. It was North Korean. It was Russian. And others. But Iran took the propaganda put out by our isolationists, repeated it and promoted it so millions and millions of people could see, and tried to affect our politics, desperately seeking to prevent Donald Trump, or to persuade Donald Trump not to do what he did, which was, of course, spectacular and crucially important. Spectacular and crucially important. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Steve Scalise, the majority leader in the House, made it right under the button there, baby. Steve Scalise, how are you, my friend?
Hey, Mark, how are you? I'm doing great. Great to hear from you again.
It is. You're a good man. It's always good to hear from you. So just, without getting into all the back and forth, tell us what is in the bill that we should like, but tell us what the Senate changed in the bill that you guys now have to wrestle with, if you don't mind.
Yeah. And I'll start with that first part of your question, because frankly, Mark, I think that's the part that gets lost too much is people talk about what they want in or what they don't want in. But let's talk about what's actually in the bill that is great for this country, and it's all the Trump agenda. Donald Trump ran saying, number one, I will not let anybody's taxes go up. And I think a lot of people might not realize, but if Congress does nothing, takes no action, everybody who pays taxes in America will see their tax rates go up dramatically. It'll be about a 60% tax increase. We obviously don't want that to happen. Kamala Harris wanted that to happen, and it was a big part of the debate. President Trump was clear, we're going to prevent the tax hike from happening. And so that's in this bill. He went further and he said, if you work for tips, if you work overtime, you're not going to have to pay taxes on that money. That's in this bill. So if you're, the Democrats, every Democrat in the House and Senate has voted against this bill because they want a tax increase. They want more money for Washington. But also they're hiding behind this lie of it's tax cuts for the millionaires and the billionaires. Think about this, Mark. The average work pay for a worker who works for tips is $32,000 a year. There's no millionaires or billionaires benefiting from the new tax provisions. And that's no tax on tips and no tax on overtime. And so if every Democrat's going to vote against working people in America, you're working 3 shifts at the diner or your local restaurant, you're working overtime at a factory, and you're being away from your family, but you look at the paycheck and you go, is it really worth being away when all this money's going to the government? You're not going to have to pay taxes on that anymore, and it's only because Republicans in Congress worked with Donald Trump to deliver, and every Democrat's voting no. So that's in the bill, and that's going to be a big relief to working families, and it's going to help boost the economy. We also deliver on border security. So Donald Trump, again, ran on a border security campaign. He's delivered on a lot of that, Mark, as you know, and you've reported it. However, he's running out of money to deport criminals. He needs more money. He needs more money to finish building the wall. That's in this bill. He needs more money so that our Border Patrol agents, it's embarrassing right now. The drug cartels of Mexico have better technology than America's Border Patrol agents. It's a real problem. They've been talking about it for years. Biden didn't want to fix it because he didn't want them controlling the border. Trump wants to fix it, but that costs money to give them drones and night vision goggles and other things. That's in this bill. We do some things to strengthen America's defenses. So all of those things are in this bill. Some other provisions that were focused on growing the economy, lowering inflation, lowering interest rates so you can go buy a first-time home, and then getting America's economy back on track, producing more energy in America. We all ran on that. We deliver in this one big, beautiful bill. Everything from opening up more energy, exploration and production in ANWR in Alaska, all the way down to the Gulf of America and every point in between. We'll be producing more energy. That's bad news for Putin. It's bad news for Iran and Venezuela because America will be energy dominant again. That's in this bill. So all of those things are in the bill, and it doesn't happen if we don't pass this bill, which is why it's so critical. So obviously you've got fault lines, gee whiz, we want to cut more. I wish we could cut more, but guess what, Mark? This bill cuts over $1.5 trillion in waste, fraud, and abuse. Work requirements, making people get back to work again instead of sitting on the government.
Hold on, let's hit this.
The largest cuts ever.
You're trying to save Medicaid, for God's sakes. You want people off of Medicaid who won't work 20 hours a week, yet have the physical and mental capacity to do it, and they're sitting at home collecting freebies, and you want to take illegal aliens off. The Democrats voted against removing illegal aliens from Medicaid. So you're trying to save the program, are you not?
Yeah, the program's gone bust. And if you're a disabled person or a pregnant woman, the people that the Democrats hide behind, the program's going bust for those folks. It's not working for those folks because they're getting crowded out by the illegals and by the 35-year-old able-bodied guy who's sitting at his mom's basement turning down work while playing video games all day long. Well, guess what? He's going to have to get off his butt and go to work. And that's going to make the program work better for the people that truly do need it. That's in this bill.
Let me, Mr. Producer, cut 10. Let me play this Chuck Schumer line for you, because these guys, they're basically sloganeers, You've got to explain what's going on because they hit you with slogans. Cut 10, go.
Today, Senate Republicans betray the American people and cover the Senate in utter shame. They betrayed the American people and covered the Senate in utter shame. In one fell swoop, Republicans passed the biggest tax break for billionaires ever seen, paid for by ripping away health care for millions of people and taking food out of the mouths of hungry kids. This is not a big, beautiful bill at all. That's why I moved on the floor to strike the title. It is now called The Act. That's all it's called.
By the way, that's his microphone. That's not our audio problem. He can't even get a microphone to work. Steve Scalise, how do you stand these psychopath liars that just get up there taking the food? Can I ask you a question? Isn't the budget still going to be trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars?
Trillions. And Mark, it's going to grow. It's just not going to grow above inflation in some of those areas. And Chuck Schumer knows he's lying. By the way, this is the same guy, remember, who said, if you like your health care plan, you can keep it. If you like your doctor, you can keep it. And he voted for Obamacare. And then millions of people lost their doctor and lost their health care plan. So this guy's got no credibility. And here he is lying yet again. It's what he does for a living. And it's sad because there are some people that maybe want to believe him. But let's look at the facts, okay? Look at what he said. Look at what he said on the Medicaid side. The only people that are losing Medicaid are fully able-bodied. Again, the able-bodied people who are crowding out the disabled people. And it's work requirements, Mark. And if they still go look for work, they can still get the benefits. So they have to look for work. They can't turn down work. So that's in the bill. No kid is going to lose SNAP benefits. Pulling food from the mouths of babes. Is he in Rwanda? What country is he talking about? In America, every kid that is eligible for SNAP and food stamps still gets it. You know who doesn't? The able-bodied adult who's turning down work and is able to go get a job. If you lose your job and you're down on your time and you can't get a job, those programs are there for you, but they're getting crowded out by all of these people who are turning down work just to sit at home. We know this all started and got worse during COVID. We're ending this party. You can still sit at home. Just don't ask the taxpayer of America to front $40,000, $50,000 in government giveaways for you. So these programs will work better. And by the way, tax cuts for the billionaires, who's he talking about, Mark? There is not a tax cut for billionaires in the bill. I thought Chuck Schumer would have read the bill. They made him read the bill on the Senate floor. It took 14 hours. They read it. He must have been sleeping when the reading happened because he would have seen that the only tax cuts in this bill go to the $32,000 a year waiter and waitress at your local restaurant who won't have to pay taxes on tips, and the shift worker who's working overtime who won't have to pay taxes on the overtime, not the billionaires. Current rates stay the same, so nobody's taxes go up, which Schumer wanted, but there is no tax cut for billionaires in the bill. It's a lie they've been telling, by the way, since 2017 when Donald Trump passed the first Tax Cuts and Jobs Act and grew this country like we've never seen before.
Is this not a party that supports this guy in New York who is a Marxist-Islamist? Is this not a party that supports Tlaib and AOC and Omar who hate this country? Is this not a party that is gutting the nation, that had open borders and had illegal aliens and terrorists and criminals come across the border, didn't blink at all the women sold into sex slavery and all the children sold into sex slavery? You're right on, Steve Scalise. God bless you, my friend. I hope you're doing well, by the way.
Thank you.
I'd love to have you back soon. We'll be right back.
Mark doesn't suffer fools well. So, if you're a fool, don't call 877-381-3811.
Ooh, we have some calls. All right. Let us go to Kathleen, Long Island, New York. How are you, Kathleen?
Hey, Mark, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Good. You were amazing at the keynote. I watched the whole thing.
Oh, thank
you were off
sweetie.
the charts. I know you don't like people to call in and compliment you, but you know what? Too bad.
Were you there or you saw it online?
No, I saw it online. I wish I was there, but I am a Christian United for Israel. I'm actually a Catholic United for Israel. I've been pro-Israel, 25 years, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And my closest friend is Orthodox because I live right on the border of an Orthodox area, and her husband's a rabbi, and they told me to tell you that you're not only a mensch, you're the mensch.
Wow.
So, yes, they love you.
You know, and some people, they'll hate me even more now, you know.
Right. So I wanted to tell you, and I also learned from you and from growing up over the years that we conservatives, we practice what we preach, but socialists and liberals don't. For example, like if I'm walking by and I see a shop that doesn't allow guns, I don't go in because I carry one. And if you hate Jews, you need to not use any products that were invented by Jews because there are quite a lot of them. Not only in medicine, which I practice, but in life. Like the camera that you use for FaceTime, that was invented by a Jew. The first camera phone, invented by a Jew. They have cataract removal. And if you don't have corneas and they can't find a donor for a cornea transplant, there's a machine invented by a Jew that you can get a man-made
device.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So if you hate Jews, don't come to the hospital because you're going to have a very hard time. Antibiotics started with Jews. The list is endless, which I know you know.
Well, can you give me the long list that the Palestinians have invented?
Oh, yes. Nothing but menace and evil and disgusting things.
I mean, it's same with America. Western society, what builds things? They develop things. It's a very humane way of thinking. Western society, the Judeo-Christian thought processes, or even Reformed Muslims and so forth, that have gone, people that embrace the Enlightenment and the Reformation. If you're a 7th century throwback, you're into killing and destroying. That's it. That's it.
That's all they know, and they don't do anything. Like socialists, like this guy running for mayor in New York, I can't even pronounce his name, and I don't even want to. I really don't think he's going to win. I think Curtis is going to do it, and I'll tell you why. I have my Israel flags, I have my American flags all over my car, and I'm telling you, when I go into Brooklyn, Bronx, to go visit patients at home, everybody likes Israel. Jews, Christians, Hispanics, black people.
Trust me, everybody doesn't, but that's okay.
What's that?
Trust me, everybody. We even have these isolationists who claim to be MAGA. They're fake MAGA. They trash Netanyahu. They trash Israel. They sound like, Bernie Sanders and Islamists.
And he's Jewish, which is so disgusting. And Chuck Schumer, forget it. I don't know anybody that keeps putting that, I'm not going to say what I'm thinking, back into office because he's absolutely horrible. He just lies about everything. Like if you ask him, are you Chuck Schumer? He'll say no. Like he's so out of his mind. And any New York Jew that votes Democrat is crazy.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yeah, and there'll be a percentage who do. Nobody gets it except them. I'll tell you why. When you have people who put their faith in political ideology and a political party before they do their actual faith, and it's not just Jews, unfortunately they're there, but even Catholics who vote for people who believe on abortion on demand and that sort of thing. These are people who are not really people of faith. They're born Catholic, born Jewish, whatever it is, but they really don't believe. They just don't. You're a sweetheart. Thank you for your call. I really appreciate it, Kathleen. God bless you, my friend. Let's continue. Steve in Brooklyn, New York. Go right ahead, please.
Yes, hello. I had a comment on what the things what this lady talked about, but I wanted to talk about the billionaires.
Yes, sir.
We can thank to the billionaires a lot of things. The billionaires maintaining and building hospitals, they're maintaining a judicial system, they're bringing in energy, they're bringing in all the oil what people using in their cars.
All right, let me slow you down because you're making a great point. You go to these massive, beautiful, cutting-edge hospitals, billionaires put their names on them. And Stephen's making the point, that's because they make these massive donations to them. I happen to know several. I don't know Langone, but there's Langone Center. You've got the Perlmutters, like Perlmutter, Lori Perlmutter. They do the same thing all over the place. They put their money. And so I would ask this Mamdani guy, what's he ever given? What's he ever given to anybody, Stephen?
Probably nothing. I think if he has good ideas, why doesn't he do them in his own country? We are the world.
Well, I don't know what his own country is, to be perfectly honest with you.
We don't need a person with new ideas. We don't need a person with socialist ideas. Socialist ideas have been tried in Russia. They did not work. They're trying to learn now from us.
You're right. They've been tried in California. They don't work there either, Stephen. Thank you for your call, my friend. We've got to keep moving. Nancy, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, on the Mark Levin app. Nancy, how are you?
Well, Mark, thank you. Mark, I once won a contest for my answer to the question of what is the best oxymoron. I said democratic socialism. To simplify it for people, democracy is when people are in charge of the government. Socialism is when the government is in charge of the people. Very whenever beautiful. Anybody like the New York candidate for mayor on the Democrat ticket, AOC, Bernie Sanders, or any of the rest of them use that phrase democratic socialism, they're using a term that sounds so good and nice, but they're using it as an oxymoron for morons.
They're liars. That's what they are. They're liars. They come up with phrases. They come up with slogans. They come up with terminologies. But the people need to understand what it is that they're giving up in exchange for freebies, their liberty. Some people don't give a damn, and so they'll vote for their own tyranny. And the world has seen this over and over and over again. And then when it's too late, it's too late. Thank you for your call, my friend. Excellent. Let's keep going. Let's go to Mark, Jackson, New Jersey. How are you, sir?
I'm all right, thank you. We keep talking about this Zahran Mamdani guy and what a disaster he is, and what a disaster he could become and bring a city with him. I think we also have to keep talking about, the positive option, right? You had Curtis Lewa on the show a couple of days ago, and I thought it was great that you endorsed him and that you support him. But I think from now on, instead of just yelling and ranting about a lot of conservative people are doing it, saying this Mamdani, what are we going to do? It should be no, this Mamdani is terrible. Everyone go vote for Curtis.
If you heard me yesterday, I also said he and Cuomo and the mayor better get together and figure out who they're going to get behind, because otherwise we're going to lose.
So I think, honestly, Cuomo is a has-been at this point.
I agree.
He's walking around like a...
But Cuomo had his chance. He blew it, didn't he? He blew it in the Democrat primary. He's a lackluster candidate with not just baggage, but baggage after baggage after baggage.
Remember, he ran away from his own party. He's walking around now like a corpse. He looks like he died I don't know how many years ago, and he has nothing to bring to the table besides for scandal after scandal. Mayor Adams didn't do a great, he's not so hot either. For him, he thinks that Zahran Mamdani is his second coming, because now everyone says, oh, wow.
Okay, but you just said we're not coming up with a solution, and your solution is going to be what?
We have to vote for Curtis. We have to get behind Curtis.
Okay, that's fine. I said I endorsed him. But these three better get together and get behind somebody or they're going to lose. You can't divide this vote and then this maniac slips it through. By the way, history's filled of examples like this, whether they're fascist regimes or Marxist regimes or whatever they are, that we're so busy fighting among each other that a real enemy of the people gets elected. A real enemy of the people. So I think these three guys need to sit down and make a decision. If Cuomo won't, I don't think the mayor's willing to do it. Sliwa really is the best alternative from my point of view, but it's going to take somebody or some group of people to figure this out, because I'm telling you right now, it's not because Marx says so. The numbers don't work. They do not work. Thank you for your call. They don't work. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Gotta take this call. Let's go to Larry, Hope Sound, Florida. The great WJNO. Larry, go right ahead.
Hey, Mark, I just wanted to catch up to you because you're the only one that's calling things the way they are. And I'm speaking specifically about this guy in New York. Everybody wants to call him a social democrat or even a Marxist. And then anybody that knows anything knows that Marxists are not religious in any shape or form. This guy, if you do any background on him at all, is a Shia Muslim, believes in the infiltrata, and is also a 12er, which means he's got exactly the same theology as Ayatollah Khomeini.
You're right on, but he's also a Marxist in the sense that he believes in the complete control of the economy and so forth. So I don't mind people calling him a Marxist-Islamist, but you make a great point. That's why he's never going to condemn, never, global intifada. If you don't condemn it, you're 40. He says, oh, those aren't words I would use. That's obvious, because he's a liar. Good point, Larry. Good job. So before I sign off, which will be in a few minutes, just a reminder, as people come and go in the program, a lot of people stay the whole time, and we very much appreciate it. We're having our special event August 17th, Sunday, at the Reagan Library in Simi Valley. Our book signing, our discussion, Q&A, dinner, a fantastic, fantastic day and evening. They also have a very special event going on there that I want you to check out as well. And the Dead Sea Scrolls, and you're going to get to see some of this. That's unbelievable in their museum. And, of course, the Reagan Museum itself and the president and the former first lady are both buried there in a beautiful spot. And you'll find a bench with my parents' name on it in honor of them as well, because we had that put there too. But you're going to love it. Those of you who've been there, now's the time to jump in. Love to see you. Now's the time to celebrate the election of Donald Trump and to talk about what we need to do. What we need to do about these people who would take our country away. And we are surrounded by these people. They're in our culture. And I want to have that discussion with you when we're there. In any event, it's the ReaganFoundation.org/Levin, ReaganFoundation.org/Levin. I don't know how many they've sold. For all I know, they're done. But I want to encourage you to contact them as quickly as possible. Just go online, grab your tickets. If you just want a signed book, you can do that too. We'd love to have you. I'm doing 3 book signings. This is the furthest one west. I'm not going any further west than Reston, Virginia, which means there's a lot of space between Reston, Virginia and California. We love to see our friends in California all the time, in the L.A. area, in the Simi Valley area, Ventura, California, and so forth and so on. Great patriots still there, ladies and gentlemen, millions of them. Great patriots, and we love, and they're happy patriots, because we have this fantastic time. It's very exciting. It's a big event. And I really enjoy going out there and doing it with the family and everybody. And we look forward to seeing everybody. And parents and grandparents bring their kids and grandkids. It's a lot of fun. It's an event. It's a national town hall meeting where patriots get to meet. And you're going to have a blast. We do every year. This is our 9th time. Is that what she said, 9th time? Or he said, Mr. Producer? 9th time? That's a lot. And And I love to keep going there. So once again, ReaganFoundation.org/Levin, ReaganFoundation.org/LEVIN. Jump in now. You can't call in later and say, Mark, I wanted but. It doesn't work that way. It goes to the first person. And we have families that come in here, 4 or 5 people. And just think about that. That happens 100 times, then it's over. 200 times, it's over. They only have like 1,000 seats there. And I guarantee you by now 3/4 of them are gone. I'm guessing. I don't know. But that's pretty much the way it works. We salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, emergency personnel. You, the American people. We salute our Ukrainian friends and our Israeli friends, and I want to thank each and every one of you. I've got the best audience. I know it. I am blessed by you. I'm blessed by God. Thank you very, very much. And again, if you can get over there, I want to see you at the Reagan Library, reaganfoundation.org/LEVIN. See you tomorrow.